Hi, welcome to the Yarn and Yarns YouTube channel. My name is Angela. You can find me on Instagram and Ravelry as Rainbow Ange. Here on the channel you will find me chatting about my adventures in knitting and crochet and spinning for the most part. Sometimes other crafts creep in, but for the majority of my videos they will be the crafts that I will be waffling on about. I also often have a little section at the end of my videos called Shop Talk. I run a small bricks and mortar yarn shop outside of Cardiff in South Wales in the UK. So oftentimes I will do a little bit of chatter about what's happening in the shop, but I tend to leave that section until the end because I know not everyone might be interested in that sort of chat. This week there will be no Shop Talk section. It's been a bit of a strange week, so there has not been that much making on my part compared to my usual output. So I think before I get into the episode proper, in terms of my creative content, I will probably just put in a little bit of a chatter section, but I'll try and pop in a timestamp just below here now, in case you're not interested in the waffle and excuses about why I have not been that productive this week. First off, I just want to reiterate something that I tried to say, probably not very eloquently, in my book review video, but I know not everyone watches those book review videos, so I just wanted to make it clear there is still a lot of chatter going on Instagram and on Ravelry about racism and the diversity in the knitting community, and I just really want to say that I am still listening and learning. I am not part of the silent majority. I haven't spoken about the issue that much because I don't really want to put myself at the centre of this issue. I feel very passionately that I want everyone to feel welcome here at Yarn and Yarn's little corner of the internet. But I don't really have the vocabulary to really express everything that I want to. There are lots of people out there still sharing their painful stories about how they have not found the community to be particularly welcoming. I have always found this community to be welcoming, but I guess that's part of my privilege. So I just really want to make it clear that everyone is welcome here, regardless of race, creed, sexuality. If for any reason anyone does feel uncomfortable because of anything that I say or do, or anyone else that they encounter here in this little corner, then please do let me know. I am here to learn. I am sure that I will make mistakes, but I am willing to learn, and yeah, as I say, I just want to try and make this a safe and welcoming place. So that being said, thank you so much for taking the time to spend with me this week. I really do appreciate your company. This week has been a bit discombobulated for me. I don't know why, it's just been one of those weeks. Nothing has really gone to plan. Not that I ever have, you know, a master plan for any of my weeks, but it's just been a bit of a strange one. And that's meant that I've not been as productive as I usually am in terms of my creative content. So on Monday, I usually take Monday afternoons off work. I am in the shop 6 days a week, so Tuesday through to Friday I'm there full time, and then on Monday and Saturdays I generally work a half day, although there are a couple of Saturdays every month where I work a full day. So I like to take a Monday afternoon off to relax, and I usually treat myself to a trip to the cinema. But that didn't happen this week. I had my taxes to complete. So that got my week off to a bit of a different start. So I was out of my normal routine. And then James came home with a bit of a cold. So I've not actually got full-blown cold from him, but I've been feeling a little bit out of sorts this week. I've not had my usual amount of energy, and I've definitely felt a bit sniffly and snuffly a few days this week, so my normal energy levels haven't been there. I also managed to develop a bit of neck pain this week and shoulder pain. So there was 3 evenings this week where I didn't do any crafting whatsoever, which is just completely out of the ordinary for me. I do a lot of crafting, so I don't think it's necessarily related to that. I try and take lots of breaks and stretch and, you know, give myself a bit of time off every now and then. I think it's more likely that I perhaps either sat in a draft at the shop or maybe I slept funny. So yeah, I had to be mindful of that and take care of myself a little bit this week. Wednesday in the shop was absolutely crazy. So given that it was the very end of January, just a random Wednesday, we actually took one of the most amounts of money ever in the shop in one day. I don't know where that came from. So a Wednesday's a day where I also host 2 groups in the shop. So between making cups of tea and coffee, serving customers, and also helping the group members with any issues they had with their projects, yeah, it was just absolutely insane. A couple of people have suggested that that might be down to the fact that we were told that we were going to have a whole dump of snow this week, which we did have a little bit of snow overnight on Thursday, but it was nothing really to speak of, and it had all gone by Friday lunchtime. So yeah, whether everyone was rushing out to make sure they had projects in case they were snowed in, I don't know. But yeah, that day left me pretty tired too. Yeah, and then we had the snow and then it disappeared again, and yeah, things are slowly getting back to normal. But yeah, all that to justify why I don't have as much progress on my projects this week as I would like. I also need to draw for a winner for my 250 subscriber giveaway, and that will happen at the very end of this video. I need to just get my act together and get that sorted. So yeah, on to the proper creative crafty content for this video. So I'm going to start with knitting this week. I have done a little bit of knitting. I have got 1 finished object to share with you and 3 works in progress, although none of the works in progress have particularly seen a lot of work done to them. My finished object is a commission project, and I recorded a little segment in the shop earlier this week before it went off to its new home, so I'm going to pop that in first here. Hey, so I have a finished object, but it's very likely that it will be off to its new home before I get to record a full video on Sunday. So I thought I'd just quickly show it to you before it disappears. Quick disclaimer on this segment though, I'm feeling a bit grotty today. I have the starts of a cold, dancing around the edge of a migraine, and I can't see entirely well. So anything is a little bit off, then that is the reason. I thought I'd tell you just in case. So I finished a little toddler garment, which was a commission for one of my lovely customers. The pattern I used is from this lovely book, Seaside Babes from Serdar. It's quite an old book, but I still have a couple of copies of this floating around in the shop. And the pattern I'm knitting is just called Cardi and Waistcoat, which isn't very inventive, is it? But here is the pattern as shown in the booklet, and this is my version here. So I knit this in the 2 to 3 year old size. I made a slight error in that I forgot to change up my needle size. I cast on the ribbing in 3.25, and then I was most of the way up the back before I realised I was still knitting on 3.25 rather than 4. So I just knit the entire body in that same size needle, and I don't think it's going to make a huge amount of difference. It's a slightly ribbed pattern, so there's plenty of stretch in here to accommodate for growth, and the child that this is meant for is going to be 2 shortly, so there should be plenty of room for growth anyway. I knit this in some lovely Rowan yarn. This is a discontinued yarn, but it was in my sale basket, so the customer who commissioned this picked the yarn out from there. It's Rowan Superwash Pure Wool DK, I think is the yarn. Colour is colour 58, which the colourway name was called Cloud, and it's a really lovely sort of blue grey. It's not really a grey, it's not really a blue, but it's a lovely colour. Finished it off with some sort of sky blue buttons there, which I think really bring a nice bright pop to the cardie. So yeah, that is it for my finished commission object this week. So I'm really pleased with it, and I hope that my customer who I knit it for will also be pleased. And on to my works in progress. So the first one is another commission project, and it's living in this lovely little pyramid bag that I was gifted by Eva Christie, and I won this project bag on a giveaway on her channel, and I believe it was made by her mother, which is really fun, and it's great for a one skein project like a pair of socks. These are the socks that I'm knitting for the husband of one of my customers. She picked out some lovely yarn from Opal from the Claude Monet collection, and this is the Water Lilies colourway, and I have just about finished the meat of the foot. So here we have what my progress so far. I think I showed this on the last video, but I probably would have been down here somewhere. So I have knit 9 inches. Yes, you heard me right, 9 inches. He has a size 11 foot, which I didn't know before I agreed to knit these socks. But I need to now start increasing for the gusset and the heel turn. So yeah, this yarn is knitting up beautifully. That is the stockingette side, which is the underfoot, and then for the top of the foot I'm doing a 3x1 rib just to give it plenty of stretch. She told me he's got a fairly wide foot, so I wanted to do something that would accommodate that without having to faff around too much going backwards and forwards to get the right stitch count. I started with a Turkish cast on and increased up to 72 stitches, and then I gave her the sock for him to try on, and she said the fit was good. So I've just continued this week to knit up the foot, and I need to sit down at some point, probably today, and get that gusset put in, get him to try it back on again to make sure that the length of the foot is correct before I carry on. Once I get the first sock done, the second will be no problem at all because I'll have the recipe, but it's always a bit of a back and forth when I'm knitting for someone that I haven't knit for before, who obviously has very different size feet to myself. So yeah, I'm looking forward to getting these to him to try on, just to make sure we're on the right track. I'm knitting them on 2.25mm higher sharps. And yeah, not much else to say about those really. The Opal sock yarn, the Monet collection, is a new one that Opal released this year. Unfortunately, I can't get it anymore. My supplier has run out. I'm assuming it has proved to be extremely popular, and I'm not surprised. The colours are absolutely beautiful. I think there were 8 colours in the range. I've got the oddball left in the shop, but I reordered it several times and it's been super popular. So yeah, if you're interested in that and you are able to source it somewhere, I'd say grab it quickly because it seems to be selling out everywhere pretty fast. My second work in progress is living in my sloths bag, which was a purchase I made from the York Makery when I was up there on holiday at the end of last year. And this is my barley hat, which is a pattern by Lisa Richardson, and it's in the Rowan Knitting and Crochet magazine, issue 60, which I think was from a couple of years ago. I've made a little bit of progress, however not as much as I wanted. I wanted to get this finished this week, as I was hoping to enter it in as an entry in the New Year Warm Head knit along, but I didn't get to finish it, so no entry into that for me, but that's okay. I needed to take care of myself more than I needed to enter a knit along. So this little progress keeper here, which is a lovely teapot, which was from Caroline, who is Colourful Creativity, as part of the goodie bag that we got at the Knit Tea retreat last year. That's keeping my progress on this, so I've got an inch or so done from the last time you saw it. I've done 1.5 pattern repeats of the pattern out of the 3 repeats that I need to do before I start the decrease. So this is quite a slouchy hat, and I'm really looking forward to having it. The patterning is just beautiful. Can't wait to be wearing this. I'm knitting this from Rowan Felted Tweed in the ginger colourway, and the needles are 3.75 and I'm using some Knit Pro Royales for this, which are the wooden shaft and the metal tips, and it makes me super happy that they match the colour of my yarn. Yay! So yeah, with any luck it won't be long before I am wearing that lovely hat. We shall see. This week is a week where I have been working on anything that I want to. As part of my 2019 goals, I'm trying to alternate between my oldest whips one week and then whatever takes my fancy the second week. So I'm in a whatever takes my fancy week. It's been a little bit frustrating because I wanted to make some good progress on these projects and it just hasn't really happened this week, but never mind. I will come back to probably the majority of them in 2 weeks' time, and I will be excited to do so. My final project that I have been working on this week will probably be of no surprise to anyone. It is my Darumi sweater, which is a pattern by Isabel Kramer, featured in spring 2018 issue of Pom Pom. And I finished the body this week, which I'm really happy with. I didn't actually have that much to go to get the body finished, so if I just hold this up if I can. So this marker here, which is another one from Caroline of Colourful Creativity, is showing where I was when I last showed this to you. So I've knit down at the body, and I've also just yesterday picked this up again and started a sleeve. So I've got about 3.5 inches done on the first sleeve. This project was a little delayed this week because I knit down to the recommended length before putting on the ribbing, popped on a cord extender and tried it on to make sure I was happy with the length. Then I knit the rib, and then I faffed around with the cast off for a little bit. So in the pattern, there's a really fun little detail which you can't see on the cover, but the arms, when you cast off the arms, they have a little band of the yoke colours reflected in the cast off. And I originally thought that I was going to do that on the bottom of the jumper as well. So I changed colours and I cast off with... the pattern recommends that you knit around after you've done the ribbing and then cast off. I did that, but then when I tried the sweater on again, it was just too tight across the middle for me. The knit round had really just taken out all of the stretch that you get with the ribbing. And also the change from ribbing to the knit row just didn't look particularly pretty to my mind. So I decided to rip that out and just cast off with the in pattern, so 1x1 ribbing in the grey yarn, and that's got a lot more stretch than the knit one row before casting off did, so I'm much happier with that. I will probably add the colour detail onto the cuff because I think it is a really cute detail, and I won't need, I'm quite a large person and I need a lot more stretch across my middle than I do around my wrist, so the pattern gives some recommendations for the rate of decrease for the arms, but obviously I can just try this on as I go now and decrease as I want, and I can leave myself enough room on those cuffs to add that little detail. Apologies for any angle change. I've been trying to record this video all morning and it's not been going well. In the meantime, James went out in search of bacon to make me some lunch, and he came back and he made it. So I had to go and get some food. So I think I was talking about my Darumi still. And I am working my way down the first sleeve. I am still alternating skeins. If it's been entirely essential to alternate skeins on this yarn, the skeins seem fairly consistent. But I thought it's good practice to alternate skeins. But I think once I've got a tiny little bit left of one ball, and I think once that has gone, I will stop alternating on this arm. It's a lot more cumbersome to alternate the skeins on such a small circumference, and they keep getting twisted and they're just basically getting on my nerves. So I'm going to scrap that just as soon as this has been used up. Up until now, Darumi has been living in a project bag that I made but it's really quite a squash, and I can't fit my pattern book as well as the project in there anymore. So I think I managed to twirl you around, sorry. I think I will be changing that up into a new bag just as soon as I have finished recording. I have one more knitting work in progress, but I'm actually going to talk about that in my spinning segment, so stay tuned for that. There's only a little bit of crochet talk this week. I've been working on one project and I hoped to have had it finished. But a combination of not working so much on my projects this week, and also the fact that the pieces on this project take quite a long time, means that it is sadly not finished yet. I'm talking about Blake. Blake is the project that I started from Edward's Menagerie as part of my 12 cast-ons of Christmas. Blake is an orangutan, and let me just show you what he looks like. There he is. I had the body and the head finished, so I have been working on the arms and the legs. I've also sewn him together this week. I have to say I'm not 100% happy with him. Poor old Blake. The colour just isn't right, so I purchased a ball of the Toft yarn quite a few years ago now, when I first got the Edward's Menagerie book, because I wanted to make Blake, but they didn't really have the colour that I wanted. I ended up purchasing the colour Fudge, which is quite a, well, it's a mid-brown, I guess. Here he is. But it's not really orangutan colour, and I mean, he is brown in this book, but it's a lot lighter brown. And yeah, I mean, orangutans are more on the sort of rusty side of brown, aren't they? So I'm not convinced, but I'm going to carry on with him. I've sewn him together and I've made his little legs. He needs sewing up a little bit better. One of his legs is hanging off, bless him. I was trying to sew it up quite late one evening, and the brown and poor light is not particularly conducive to being able to see exactly what you're up to. I added some extra loop stitches to his legs, which is also contributing to why this is taking longer. There's quite a few bare patches on his body when you follow the number of stitches as suggested in the pattern, which I wasn't entirely happy with, and having read some comments on Ravelry, I think that problem was even worse on the arms and the legs, so I decided just to do my own thing in terms of the loop stitch. So he's got quite puffy, hairy legs. Just the arms to go now, but yeah, I think they're going to take probably there'll be an evening or two's worth of work, given the length of time that the loop stitch takes, and also they're slightly longer than the legs. So yeah, a little bit of work left to do on Blake. He's also looking pretty creepy at the moment because I haven't sewn any arms and any eyes. Got a couple of stitches to denote his nostrils as well that need to do him. So yeah, I'm a little bit sad that Blake is not finished. I'm also a little bit sad that he's not really turning out as I wanted. I was talking to James about this last night, and he said, well, why don't you just make another one in a nice orangey colour that you do like? And I'm not sure that I can face doing another one with all the loop stitches. It's okay as a technique, but it's not the most fun. And for something that's just gonna like hang out as a kind of fun little decoration, it doesn't really have a purpose. I honestly just don't think I can be bothered. Which is probably not the attitude, but whatever. So Blake has been hanging out in a project bag that I made for myself a little while ago with this applique cat on. He doesn't fit in there anymore. When he was in pieces, it was fine, but the yarn and the hook and everything are still in there. I'm using the Toft yarn for the body, and I'm using this Serdar Eco Wool DK for the features, and also he has like the sort of start of the legs and the arms have a little bit of that colour contrast detail in there too. This has just been hanging around in my stash forever, and I'm using a 3mm hook, which is it's 5/0. I don't know if that's I thought the US sizes were letters, but I don't know. I'm sure you guys out there will be able to figure out if you're in the US, what a 3mm hook is. So yeah, that is it for Blake. As I say, another couple of evenings work and he will be done. Hopefully I will be a bit more enamoured with him once he is finished. We shall see. On to my final section this week, which is spinning. I have managed to keep up my practice of spinning at least 15 minutes every day, even though I have not felt the best this week. But I am enjoying spinning so much that I wanted to keep up the practice that I had started. I also have a little bit of knitting, as I mentioned earlier in this section, because I have been working with one of the yarns that I finished this week. So I plied up, so the first thing I did this week, I plied up the singles that I had made from a fondant fibre fuzzling. I'm not entirely sure of the fibre content of this, but there's definitely some Stellina or Angelina or something in there because it's got a bit of sparkle. And it's this lovely, let's try and put it, there we go. It's lovely blues and purples, yeah. Just a really fun little bump of fibre. I started out with 17 grams of fibre and I ended up with about 50 metres of DK to fingering weight yarn. And I plied that on my Ophelia spindle, which is the Orange Sea sediment spindle, which I have shown before, and I don't have it right next to me and I'm too lazy to go and get it, sorry. Yeah, that spindle's a little bit temperamental, but I managed to get through it and I have some nice yarn to show for it. And I've knit the majority of that yarn up already into the body of what will be a little gnome, or quite a big gnome. So this is the pattern Never Not Gnoming by Sarah Shearer. If you watched my 12 cast-ons of Christmas videos, I had already knit this hat as part of that cast-on madness. But I had not got round to finding a yarn that I wanted to match with it for the body. So I had it in my head that I wanted the body to be blue as a contrast to this lovely sort of yellows and reds and oranges. This yarn also had a little bit of sparkle. I think you can see some bits sort of sticking out of the side of the sparkle. So yeah, I think the fuzzling was a perfect combination to go with that. So yeah, I have obviously hat and body, just the arms and the beard to go. I have plenty of yarn left to make the arms, and I'm also hoping that I will have a little bit more of this left because I also have a little bit of the hat yarn, and I would like to try and make a smaller version in reverse colourways, so a yellow body and a blue hat. We shall see how that works out. I do have some other yellows and blues that I could spin up and combine with it if I don't have enough left over. I'm really enjoying knitting these little gnomes and using my hand spun yarn. It's nice because even, I think I said this before when I talked about the other gnome that I made, even where the yarn is not perfect, it just knits up really nicely and it's really fun, and it doesn't really matter that there are bits that are slightly thick and thin. It looks like perfect yarn when you knit up with it. So yeah, I'm really enjoying those. So to go along with that, I decided to spin up some natural coloured fibre that I had from the sample pack that I got from the Spinner's Stash. That came when I purchased my Jodie spindle, which is this one, also from the Spinner's Stash. This is the only bottom whirl spindle that I have in my collection. So I started spinning up the natural fibre, but I'm so impatient because I want to finish this that although I haven't spun through the entire sample that I've got, I decided to ply up what I did have so that I had some yarn that I can get on and make the arms and the beard. So this is what I have. It's about, I'm not sure, 20 or so metres, I think, of yarn, about 12 grams of fibre. I've still got quite a lot of this fibre left to spin up, about another 20 or so grams. So I should have enough quantity to get a few sort of beards for various gnomes as I am planning to use a lot of my hand spun samples for these fun little creations. So yeah, I think that's everything to say on that one. I have to confess though, after a couple of days of spinning away on this, before I decided that I was just going to ply up what I had, I was getting a little bit frustrated with just working with the natural, particularly because last week I was working on my Llanwenog fibre, which is also this natural colour. So I was craving some colour. So I broke out another spindle that was free. This is actually the first spindle that I ever purchased. It was from a set from Hilltop Cloud, which is a lovely company. I think they're actually based here in Wales, if I remember rightly off the top of my head. And this spindle came with a couple of bumps of North Ronaldsay fibre, some of which I knit up into my first gnome, my first ever hand spun, knit up into the gnome that I showed on my 12 cast-ons of Christmas video. And this spindle I am calling Rosie, just in the just for the purposes of ensuring that you know the names of all of my spindles. This one is Rosie. She is basic but pretty tough. So yeah, I guess Rosie for Rosie the Riveter, if you know that poster, which I think was some World War II. I'm getting women involved in some industry to support the war effort. There's that famous image of that sort of lady with her hair in a scarf. So yeah, she is feminine, glamorous, but pretty tough at the same time, gets the job done. So that's Rosie. And I grabbed a little sample of fibre that I have owned for absolutely ages, before I even knew that spinning was a thing. I went to, I think it was the New Forest, and wandered into a shop. I can't remember the name of the shop. We're probably going back 10 plus years. And it was one of those shops that sells lovely creations and products from local artists. And I found some hanks of hand-dyed wool by Carol Webb, it says on this label. Blue Face Leicester, suitable for felting and spinning. I know nothing else about the fibre, or whether Carol is still dyeing, or where you could get this from, sorry. But yeah, some nice Blue Face Leicester fibre. 11 grams of fibre were in this little hank. And it's this gorgeous, sort of vibrant, peachy colour. Oh, yeah. So you can probably see why I went for this. I was craving some of my very favourite orange tones. So yeah, this has got some oranges, a bit of yellow, and yeah, mostly that, as I say, vibrant sort of peachy colour. And I got just under 20 metres of yarn from the 11 grams of fibre. I'm pretty happy with it. It's fairly consistent. There's one bit that's really, really thin, so I'm not sure what happened there. I don't know if something went wrong in my plying, or if I just happened to be plying two bits of, yeah, really skinny stuff at the same time. But I shall be knitting this up into another gnome. So Sarah Shearer has 3 gnome patterns out altogether. There is the basic one, which is Never Not Gnoming, and then there's Gnome Pun Intended, which I think is the cabled gnome, which is the one I'm intending to knit at least the hat out of. I'm not sure if I've got enough to get the hat and the body. And then there's Here We Gnome Again, which I think is the most recent release. Anyway, whichever one the cable-y pattern is going to be worked up into that. And then finally for spinning, this is probably my longest segment of the week, I had a little go on the Turkish spindle that I showed that I'd purchased last week, and I'm struggling with this a little bit, I have to confess. So this spindle is really, really light, so I'm finding it really difficult to get any twist into my fibre. I've got this tiny little nugget on the spindle, and it's very thick and thin. This last bit, so I picked out a Rolag from a pack that I bought in the sale from Bakewell Hearts, and this has definitely got some silk in, and I've been spinning through a little bit of the silk, and the silk is actually working up quite well, but the rest of it is I don't know, my phone on my camera is not very good, but I don't think I'm going to be able to show you on here. The bits under there are quite fuzzy, like almost unspun. So I think I just need to find the right fibre for this. I don't think I'm going to spin any more of the Rolag on this because I'm finding it very frustrating. It either breaks or it just doesn't spin. But I think I'm going to take this little nugget off and have a go with a little bit of the Llanwenog fibre, because I have a feeling that maybe that would be really nice to spin on this. Obviously I have plans for the Llanwenog, so I'm not going to do a huge amount, but I think it would be nice just to have a little sort of fun experiment if I get on any better with that, just by changing up the fibre. So yeah, that is it for spinning and therefore everything this week. Hopefully here follows a little announcement as to who won my 250 subscriber giveaway. Okay, so I'm about to pick a winner for the giveaway. I'm just popping in my video URL there. So we have 34 commenters. Just need to scroll down and get a winner. So there we go, the winner is Curly Noodle. Congratulations, Sharon. Just pop me a message over on Ravelry. You'll find a link to my Ravelry profile down below the video here, and let me know which pattern from Ravelry you would like me to gift you. Thank you so much to everyone who entered, and thank you all so much for continuing to subscribe and watch and like my videos. And all that remains for me to say is thank you so much for joining me this week. I feel like I've been a bit all over the place. I almost didn't record, and it's been a struggle to record. I've had several attempts. I don't know if I'm going to be able to find anything coherent to slice together to make a video. When the thought popped into my head that perhaps I would just give this week a miss, I really had a chat to myself and decided that I wanted to give it a go this week, because there's a couple of weeks coming up where I won't be able to record. At the beginning of March and the middle of March we have some family and friend weekends planned, and I usually record on a Sunday, so I won't be able to do those. And I've got into such a good habit of making these videos on a Sunday that I didn't want to break that habit so early in the year. So yeah, I hope you can forgive me for a bit of a messy video this week, and I hope there has been some content that you've been able to enjoy. And if you've lasted to the end, I thank you so very much. I hope that you all have an enjoyable week and that you get to do some of the things that you love. And until next time, great big woolly hugs to you all. Bye for now.